Hi everyone. Welcome to Project Learn, a Reskill and Spark initiative aiming at upskilling tech enthusiasts on emerging AI technology with the help of workshops and hackathons, and building a highly engaged Spark AI community. Through this workshop, you would be taught how to build AI effects on Spark AI Studio with features that enhance the experience of Facebook and Instagram users. I'm Anamika, and before we start the workshop, I would like to run through a small presentation to share the purpose, flow, application, and benefits of being a part of this program. So, as I mentioned, Project Learn aims at helping you kickstart your career in the domain of augmented reality by training you in the technology. The program structure is divided into three broad stages. In the first phase, we would walk you through Spark AR Studio and teach you how to create your AR effect from scratch, which involves importing assets, canvas, face tracking, patch editor, and generating testing. In the second phase, we move a step further, teaching you about advanced filters and share with you Spark AR policies before you finally submit your AR effect. Submission of your effect will get you a meta certification and access to resources that will help you prepare for the hackathon. In the final phase, we will host hackathons at your college level at Pan India level. You would be rewarded and recognized for your efforts and contribution. So before we move further, I'll quickly introduce Spark AI Studio to you all. Spark AI Studio is a tool used by a global community of creators and brands to create and share AR experiences using Facebook family of apps. An augmented reality is an interactive experience which digitally enhances what can be seen, heard, touched in the real world. At the moment, we have over 600 million people using AR effects on Meta apps. So let's have a quick look on what is happening in the field of AR. So there are four key capabilities where AR is being used currently. To give you a brief insight, we've all come across these face filters where we can add a mask on our face. This is done by using a face tracking capability. The popular Swedish chain of home furnishing stores, IKEA, uses AR to help their customer choose the right furniture for their homes through the world tracking capability. Similarly, while QR codes are very normal to scan now, we are now able to scan pamphlets and business cards using the target tracking. Body and hand tracking, the latest capability introduced, offers utility for fashion and e-commerce brand, allowing users to try an outfit digitally before they can click on purchase. Here are a few examples of some effects that you must have come across while scrolling through Instagram. Like the first one that you see, the hair color changes when you are screaming, or you're getting a phone call from a celebrity. Similarly, AR also plays a very impressive role in escalating a gamifying experience by mapping effects with facial expressions, gestures, and head movement. AR has played a very crucial role during the pandemic in bringing the world to our drawing room by emphasizing on the moment, making the content much more interactive, enjoyable, and memorable. Having said this, what happens to the effect that I have created? So the effects that we created, they are published on the Instagram user page in the stories section and in the reels. And the most amazing part is that our effect is available to the audience worldwide to use and experience. Now comes a very, very pertinent question that, okay, I learned to make my own AR effect. I know it is being published on my Instagram. I'm getting a lot of followers. People are using my experience and I have a fan following. But how does it help me professionally? So there are many ways in which you can use AR to your advantage. You can monetize the platform by building interactive AR effects for brands and creators. You can become a AR UX researcher, AR developer, and educator. You can leverage AR in your career by identifying and solving problems. And you can take augmented reality career further into learning VR and XR. With so many advantages, both immediate and long term, I'm pretty sure you're going to make most of this workshop. We had shared a download link with you all for Sparkia Studio in the email. I hope you have downloaded it. In case you haven't done that, I request you all to download it before we begin the session. Could you change the slides, Arthak? So I hope you have downloaded the studio, AR Studio. So I'll quickly introduce to you the mentor for today. We have with us Akash. Akash is an AR creator, has been creating some amazing AR effects during his journey with Spark AR. He has been the winner of Diwali Hackathon conducted by Spark AR in association with Reskill in 2021. And today, Akash is going to walk you through your first AR effect, right from the start. And you would be creating your first AR effect along with him. And take this opportunity to invite Akash now. Hi, Akash.
Hey, thanks for the generous introduction. Hello, everyone. Great to see you guys joining in to learn about augmented reality and Spark VR and how to create these awesome effects. So, before we start, it will be great to thanks Reskill and the team Meta for this great initiative. Learn about augmented reality and how augmented reality is, is fueling this generation of content creators. So I'll start with a very short presentation about augmented reality in general and how Apple Spark AR is, and then we'll go ahead with some hands-on to create a face effect so that you can have a effect created of your own and you can try that. So I'll share my screen to start the presentation. Great. So, a short introduction about myself. My name is Akash Bajpayee. I'm currently an associate software engineer with Los India, and an AR/VR creator. I've been creating augmented reality and virtual reality experiences for around 4 to 5 years. And in this journey of creating augmented reality and virtual reality experiences, I've been participating in a lot of hackathons. I've won around more than 15 hackathons, and most of them have been working on augmented reality and virtual reality effects. So let's start with what is reality. So both of these terms, augmented reality and virtual reality, have this word reality in common. The reality, if you go by the Hindi meaning, it would be vastavikta, which means the way life really is, the way the world around us really is. So that is reality. And a thing with reality is that our reality is very limited. It's limited in the terms of rules with gravity, physics, time, maths, energy, space, collision, existence, thermodynamics, all these things that we were taught in our school. All these things limit our reality that we live in. So these are the limitations with reality. Then the obvious question would be, what is limitless? Our imagination is limitless. We can imagine anything. It doesn't have any boundaries. It doesn't follow any rules. It doesn't have any limits. So all these things make imagination limitless thing. And what if we can combine both of these things, imagination and visualization? That becomes extended reality. Extended reality is a bigger umbrella which captures all the three: augmented reality, virtual reality, and the mixed reality. Extended reality, also known as immersive technologies. It is said to be the technology of the next 10 years. We'll be seeing a lot of news coming around extended reality with some different names, but all covered inside that. So when we are discussing augmented reality and virtual reality, augmented reality is a technology that lets you superimpose something into the real world. So anything that is not existing in the real world and we are digitally trying to superimpose that, that is augmented reality. A small definition of virtual reality would be anything which is completely different from the real world, a new environment that we create out of the real world. That would be virtual reality. So, for example, if I let you wear a headset, a VR headset, let's say Oculus Quest 2, and you feel like you are in a different world, that would be virtual reality. And when we are discussing these two words, how can we forget about the latest buzzing term, metaverse? So metaverse has started to capture the news after Facebook changed its names with Meta. And metaverse, if we go by the true definition, however, it's not very clear the real definition, but it would be a network of interconnected virtual worlds that we can go into. Really sorry, just a second. I'll come back to the slide. Great. So it's a word of interconnected virtual worlds where you can build social connections, gaming interaction, and much more. And you can get to choose your own identity in the metaverse. So all this was a general introduction about these immersive technologies. Today, our focus will be augmented reality and very specifically Spark AR, the capabilities that it provides and how useful how you can use that to create your own effects for the world. So when we're talking about Spark AR Studio, we had a very good introduction in the very beginning to showcase what are the capabilities of Spark AR. I'll focus on some of the things that I love about Spark AR Studio. It's a very powerful AR software in the terms of the templates that it provides and the capabilities that Spark AR provides within a few MBs that you can use. So that is a very big positive thing about Spark AR Studio. Also, Spark AR Studio creates effects for Instagrams and Facebook, which has a huge amount of user base. So you get to showcase your augmented reality effects to a very huge audience. And with the coming of content creator wave that has come up, there's a huge need of new filters that they can try, and they can create reels and videos around that. So that is where Spark AR Studio has been doing great. You don't need to be knowing any coding language for creating AR effects. It's purely a creative technology. So it's more about imagination and the creativity that you have in, and you can utilize some part of the coding if you want, but it's not necessary, and you can create great viral effects without using any coding in general. We have a great Spark AR creator community where people are helping each other to build effects. They get reviews of their effects, and you can, if you want to learn something new about Spark AR, we have a great Spark AR creators community that you can join. And with this workshop, you are also part of the Spark AR creators community. And when creating any AR effects, the most important things are the assets that you utilize in the AR effects. And with Spark AR Studio, you have built-in a library of 3D objects, of audio files, and patches that you can utilize, so that you don't have to go ahead and search outside. These are some of the great features of the Spark AR Studio. Since we are going to start with creating AR filters, some tips to create a great AR filter will be you have to think outside the box. Mostly the viral filters are not the ones that you see, very common ones. Those are ones which were thought outside the box, which were unique in the sense or representative of something. You have to make it very easy and fun. You cannot make a complicated AR effect and expect users to use it. It should be very easy and fun to use around, so that people will share that in their feed and that will get viral. You have to get out of the most of the AR effects. It's not about what you feel, it's about the audience that you are creating it for. So you have to utilize that. And it's a good thing that you can utilize augmented reality for, is to spread a message around the society and what's happening around you. So any event that is coming up, anything that's going to be creating a demand among the user, you can utilize that to create your AR effects. Awesome. So that was a little introduction to augmented reality and what Spark AR stands for. We'll start with creating a small AR effect on face filters. And before that, I'll introduce you about what the Spark AR Studio looks like, what each and every section is about, and how you can utilize that. So let us begin. I hope all of you would have by now installed Spark AR Studio in your laptops. If not, you can later watch this video and utilize to create your AR effects. So once you open Spark AR Studio, this is the very first screen that you'll see. Well, this screen is where most of the templates you can get. So if you start from the top, we have 3 types of AR effects that we can create. We can create with a blank project without any presettings. We can create a sharing experience that you can that users can share in their stories, in their reels, posts, and messages. There's video calling experience, which has recently came in, so that with the messenger application you can have video calls with AR effects. So these were the types of experiences. If you are just trying to explore about Spark AI Studio and not very sure what you want to create, you can start with these great templates that Spark AI Studio provides, and these keep getting updated, and you keep getting new Spark AI templates also. So let's see some of the templates that we have here. For example, the very first one is a sharing experience, a jump up game with a face recognition. We have fruit catching game. We have word experiences, which are depth visualization. We have audio visualizers, and all these effects that are coming as a template. So you don't have to do anything. You can just open these templates and work around with them. We have a huge library of these templates that you can start with. Also, if you want to learn something about Spark AI Studio, if you are just in the mood of understanding and you're not very sure how to create things, you can go to the Learn tab here, and you'll find a lot of videos and guides to create some of the very viral effects that have been created. And if you come to the very bottom here, you'll find two very important articles that we'll be utilizing for today's workshop also. These are the face reference assets that they provide, that with which you can create some of the great face AI effects. And if you have created some projects, you can go to the recent projects tab to open those. We'll start with a new project, a very blank project, so that you can understand what Spark Studio looks like and what are the different components here. We'll start with a blank project. Awesome. So this is what the screen comes up when you first open a Spark AI Studio. I'll briefly go ahead with each and every section that you see here and introduce that to you. So at the very center, the largest area that you see here is the viewport. This is your view to the 3D world which you will be creating. So if you hold the right key of your mouse or the trackpad that whatever you're using, and you move the mouse, you'll see you can move around this word. You can rotate around this word. You can use the mouse to zoom in. If you have to scroll, you can scroll down to zoom into the AR effect. So this is the 3D world where everything will be there, which you'll arrange around and you'll play along with. Inside this, we can see this user's view. This will be the view that the user will be seeing when he or she will be using the AR effect. We have a lot of template videos so that you don't have to use your own face every time. So if you click on this show video library window, you'll see a lot of pre-recorded videos that you can utilize here, like this. If you want to use your own camera, you can choose the camera that you have here. Most probably you will see one or two cameras in your feed which you can choose from. Currently, so I switched back to my camera, and now you can see my view here. Great. On the very left hand side of the complete window, you can see the scene and the assets boxes. These two boxes will define what are the things that you are using in your AR effect. So anything you want to use in your AR effect, for example, a music file, a picture, a 3D model, anything that you want to utilize in your AR effect, you can drag and drop that to the assets panel here, or you can search from the asset library directly. And whatever that you will be using in the AR effect from these assets, you will drag it from here and drop it in the scenes panel. So that will be a part of your effect. So I'll again repeat, assets are those things that you want to use, not sure if you are using or not. Anything that you want to use from the assets in your scene, you can drag and drop to here and utilize from here only. So what are these things that I'm talking about that you want to use in the AR effects? So if you remember any of the AR effects that you remember, it could be something, some 3D model that will be on the face, or some image that will be displaying on the face, or something like that. So all these things are the assets that we'll be utilizing or we'll be needing here. We'll use those, but it doesn't need to be that you have to go through create all these 3D models. We have a good community which provides free 3D models, free images that you can utilize in your effects. If you want, you can search through the internet to find these 3D models, or if you are a lazy person like me, you can go to the asset library that Spark AI provides. This is the button that you can generally find for asset library. You click on that, and this is the the AR library window. and all of the different kind of things that will be needed in an AR effect, you can find it. For example, you can find 3D objects. For this, you have to sign in for the first time, but once you have signed in, you'll see this window. So all are these 3D objects that you can utilize for free in your AR effects. For example, you can see a sword here. What else we can see? See, you can see in C plane here. All these things you can utilize in your AR effects. Depends on your creativity and your thought, what you have thought about for creating an AR effect. You can use some music and sounds also from the library here. These are generally very short, one-shot sounds which are utilized in the effects. Patch assets are also a thing that you can utilize. We'll talk about that in the second workshop most probably. Textures are mostly the images or the texture for 3D models that you want to utilize. So all these things you can search from the AR library here. One panel that we have missed is the inspector panel that is at the very right side. We'll utilize these to change the settings of any 3D object. For example, in the scene, we can see the camera right now. If you select this camera, you'll see this inspector panel change. And we have the new settings which are for this camera. Transformations would be the common one for all of them, which would be the position, the size, and the rotation of the 3D object. And there will be some changing dynamic settings that will be depending on what object you have selected here, right? So let's start with creating an face AR effect, and then you can use your creativity to create an AR effect of your own. So for today, we'll start with a face effect. A face effect is adding anything on the face, maybe a layer or maybe anything that you want to add on your face. For that, we'll need some assets. The very first thing that we'll need is a face tracker that you can directly add from the scene panel. Either you can right click on inside the scene panel anywhere and go to add object. You'll find the face tracker as the very first option, or you can use this plus button here and search for anything that you want to add. Adding things, you'll find a lot of things here. You'll have a plane tracker, which is tracking the ground, placing anything, any 3D object on the ground. We have target tracker. Target tracker will be an AR image recognition. We have hand tracker if you want to place something on the hand, and different type of built-in 3D objects that you can utilize, different types of built-in 2D assets, 2D objects that you want to utilize, and lightnings that you want to use, some effects like audio effects or the particle effects that you want to use. So we'll select the face tracker option here and click on insert. As in when you click, you'll see that inside the scene panel, we have a face tracker here. That means the face that our face is being tracked here. Right now, we won't be able to see that because there's nothing attached to that face tracker. So we'll right click on the face tracker here itself, go to add object again, and we have to find the face mesh. You can see that. We'll add the face mesh here, and right away, if you see in the user window, you can see my face is being tracked, and here there is a checkboarded face mask on my face. And you have started working with AR right now, as you can see now. And this is the very beginning of what we are going to do today. Now, we don't want this checkboarded thing on our face. We'll want to utilize this with something more logical, something that adds something to the face. Now, to map that with something else, you can go ahead to the asset library. You can find some 3D objects or some textures that you want to put on the face. For this special effect, I have considered some of the assets that I've pre-built. We'll share that with you also. So the very first one is in PNG of a mustache and an eyebrow. To import that, we'll just drag it and drop it in the assets panel. This is one of the easiest way I find to import assets. You can go ahead with clicking this plus button and go to the import from computer option, and then you can select the asset that you want. Now you can see inside the assets panel, we have a mustache named as image. This is one of the general assets provided by SparkAR itself for creating your first initial effects. Okay. Now we want to add that on the top of the face of the user here. So if you want to add something on the face of the user, the easiest way is, if you have that texture with you, you can right click, go to actions, the top one, and you can use it as a face mask. The other options here are, we can place it anywhere specific on the face, for example, on the cheeks, on the eyeballs, on the chin, or any part of the face. You can place these things in the real world, that is on the ground, and you can add some of the basic animations to these things. For our use case, we want to use it as a face mask. We click on this option, and it will have to remove the face tag, I think. Yes. So if you want to go ahead with directly going ahead and using it as a face mask, you don't need to add the face tracker that we initially added. It will do all the things by itself. And now you can see that is added on the face. I'll turn back to my camera. You can see that the mustache and the eyebrow and the chin is coming up. This is the very basic thing that we have created, and it is an augmented reality effect on the face. I'll repeat the steps for you so that you can very easily utilize that. This is what we started with. The dragged and dropped in mustache texture that we found on the Spark AR assets library. You can also find that on the face assets. If you search for, let's go ahead with Spark AR. Just a second. Face reference assets. If you search that on internet, the first link will be for Spark AR Facebook assets, and these are the very initial assets that you can utilize for face AR effects. Great. So we have what we'll do. We'll right click on the mustache. We'll go to the actions and use it as a face mask. Great. Very easy. Very simple. The other way around would be that we started with initially. We added a face tracker. Then inside the face tracker, what we did was we added a face mesh. Right click on the face tracker, add object, add a face mesh. So now we have to change the material of this face mesh. The material is anything on the top of the 3D objects that we are utilizing the material. To create that, in the assets panel, you click on the plus button here. You forward select material from here. You'll see material 0 right here. This is a new material that has been created, and we want to change the texture here. The texture would be the texture of the mustache, the image that we have just brought in. We'll select that from the options. And now we want this material on the top of the face mesh. So we'll go to the face mesh, select this face mesh. In the inspector panel, you'll see an option for materials. We'll click on that, and we'll select our material 0. Great. And the same effect that we were working with previously is replicated, and this is the general way of creating that then, but Spark AR provides a simpler way for that. Great. So we have created a very simple, very first effect of AR, which you can share with your friends. If you want to try that on your Instagram app directly or your Facebook app, there's a button right here. You can test on your device before publishing that. So this effect will be shared only with you, not with others. You can test that if you want to see how it will look on the smartphone. Press here, and you have to log in before. Just a second. Yeah. So since initially we created with a blank effect, it will ask us which kind of effect you want to create, whether it's a sharing experience, whether it's a video call experience, or it's an ad that you want to create for some organization. So since this will be a sharing effect, we will be selecting a sharing experience here, and then we can choose the platforms that we want this effect on. That's done. Going back to what we were talking about, testing on a smartphone. So if you click on here, since you would have already logged in with your Instagram or Facebook account, you can directly click this send button, and you will get the notification on these applications to test an AR effect directly. You can press this, and you'll get a notification on your phone, and you can try it from there only. And if you want to go ahead and publish this AR effect or share with users, we can do that with this publish button. We'll cover that in very detail in the second workshop, but this is to tell you from where you can begin with that. This is the place where it will start. You will press the upload button after you have changed everything, and then you'll be redirected to the Spark AR platform. We'll cover that in detail in the second workshop. For now, we are learning how to create a very basic AR effect. So this was a very basic first effect that we wanted to create. But let's go ahead and create something custom, something around what is happening around us. So currently, the nearest festival that we have is Janmashtami, and which is about Lord Krishna. So my nearest memories about Janmashtami was as a kid dressing as Lord Krishna with the peacock feather on the top, and we'll utilize that. And since when creating an AR, the best suggestion that you'll see would be to search around you. You'll find the greatest effects, the greatest ideas for effects around you itself. So let's create something around Janmashtami, which will be a sharing experience again with the face tracking. So we can close this effect. You can save this effect if you want to make any changes. For now, we don't, will discard it. Again, we are back to the very initial screen that we started with, where we want to select which experience and we will create a new project. This time we'll start with the sharing experience, that because we know we are going to create a sharing experience. This will again create a blank project with the setting as sharing experience. This is completely blank. Since we are going to create a face effect, the very first thing for any face effect would be a face tracker that we want to add. So we'll press the plus button here, go ahead, select the face tracker, and press the insert button. Again, since we cannot see the face right now, we'll go to the face tracker, right click, add object, and go to the face mesh. Now we can see the face being tracked and how the tracking is working. Awesome. So for creating an effect around Janmashtami, what is the thing that you want to create is the first question. So what we'll be doing is adding a small crown on the top of the person and adding a feather on it and applying another face mesh material. Right? So again, to save some time for you guys, I have created some of these assets. This is an image with a tilak on it top and some face decoration to do that. How I created that is, I'll tell you, with the face reference assets that I shared. I downloaded that, and inside these face reference assets, you'll find a folder named as textures. These textures are for helping you to create a face mesh or a face paint that you want to get. You'll find this image inside that, which is a face mesh trackers. This is a reference asset which tells you where where all these things will be in a texture. So all this will be like a mapping. So imagine this complete image as a cloth or as a tattoo that you will be applying on the complete face. So this will be wrapped up on the face of the user. So for example, I want to add something to the eyebrow. I will draw that using one of the softwares, example, using Photoshop or Illustrator or any software that I like for editing. I will add something around this area, which is the eyebrow area. If you want to add something around the cheek, that will be here. So this is a reference asset. You can add a layer on the top of this and then remove this. So I use this. I use an online tool known as Photopea, which is a free Photoshop alternative tool. You can use that to edit this and add something on the top. So that is not a part of this workshop, so I'll try to skip that. But if you want to know about the details, you can contact me later and we can discuss how to create that. So using that same made a face mesh that will be utilizing here. Also from the internet, I've downloaded a peacock feather PNG image. So PNG images are those which are not having any background. You might be doing. So these are the images that we'll be utilizing here. Two images, and for the crown model, we'll use the asset library of the Spark AR to get a crown model. Great. So we'll start with importing all the things that we want for this effect. These two images we are using, these are not the ones necessarily that you have to use. You can search around the internet or around the asset library to find what fits your requirement. Awesome. So again, we want to add the face mesh on the top of the face of the user. We have done that just now. We'll follow the same steps. We'll create a new material. Go ahead, click here on the lower left corner. We'll click the plus button. We'll create a new material. Let's call it face mesh mat. This is the new material. What we want to change here is the texture. The texture will keep it as the face mesh tracker that we just imported. One more thing that we'll have to change here in general is the shader type. So standard shader type will mean that we want shadows and we want lightning to interact with this. So we don't want any lightning to interact with this. We can change it to flat. If you want that, we can use the standard one also. Now, since we have the material with us, what we'll do is we'll select the face mesh that we added already here. We'll go to the materials tab in the inspector area, click on the plus button, and the only option we have is the face mesh mat. We'll click on that. Awesome. So the very first thing that we wanted to add on the top of the face is there, and it's working. Cool. Now the next thing we'll add a crown on the top of the person, and let's go ahead. We'll go to the asset library here. We'll click on that, and we'll go to the 3D objects tab here, which will have all the kind of 3D objects that we want to use. We'll search for a crown here. For this AR library, Spark AR has collaborated with Sketchfab to provide this 3D model, so you can use that. We want something like which crown which has a theme of Indian around it. Great, we have found something here. It's an Indian crown. We'll try to edit it somehow to fit our requirements. To add any asset from the asset library, you can just click on the import free button here. Only once you'll have to click, and once it's downloaded, in the assets panel, you'll find that object placed already. Yeah, just the download has finished, and you can see here on the top of the assets panel, we have the Indian crown there. Let's close this tab now. Go ahead and select this Indian crown, and to place it on the, since this is a 3D model, we can directly drag it from here and place it on the top of the face tracker 0. Now, what two things that you would observe, that the orientation of the 3D object is not correct, but it's following the movements of the face. This is a very simple thing, and the only thing that you have to do is move around the 3D object to fit the correct position. Since the face of the person is moving, we'll use this pause button here on the top to stop the movement so that we can do our editing. It has stopped. Now we'll utilize the 3D word. We'll hold the right click to rotate around the 3D object. Now on the top, you'll find 3 buttons. These three buttons are used to move any 3D objects. The first one is for moving, the second one is for rotating, and the third one is for scaling. We first want to rotate 3D object. We'll select the rotate button. You'll see the wireframe changing. You can drag around these buttons to rotate it. Awesome. Generally, you can change the values in terms of multiples of 90 around here. Generally, that works, but you can try your own customization. The crown is very large right now. We'll use the scale tool, the third tool here. Go to the very center of these 3 lines and hold and drag it so that we can see the 3D model is getting smaller. Again, the combination of all these 3 tools we'll keep using to fit our requirement. You can take your time to understand what is the correct fit. You can zoom in to see what is the correct fit around. Most probably you can move it back until it starts disappearing so that you know where is the correct place to put it. Great. We'll again use the pause button, and which has converted to the play button. We'll play it and see how the movement is happening. A little bit of coming out should be done. Awesome. So the 3D model is rotating around, but again, one thing that you'll be seeing is that even if the head rotates, you can see some of the 3D model coming out. This is because of the concept of occlusion is not being followed here. Occlusion means anything that you want to hide behind a 3D object, that is occlusion. So in the real world, if something is behind a table, you won't be able to see that object. But since we are keeping anything on the top of the face, we'll be able to see behind that also right now. So a simpler option to implement that, go ahead to the asset library here. We'll search for occluder. For head occluder. Okay. So this is one of the assets or docs that are provided by Spark AR itself. You can import that directly. Great. You can see that that is added at the very end. We'll drag it and keep it on the top of the face tracker. And now we'll play. Great. So what this change, adding the head occluder as done, is it has created an invisible 3D head around the face, which will hide anything unnecessary from the user. We'll move this around a little bit to make sure things look correct. Awesome. Great. So the crown is looking good, and the movement is being tracked. Okay. We need to rescale this a little bit up, move it a little back, down. And play the video, see how it works. Give it a little scale down. Sorry. Okay, just movements, move it around to fit with the correct pace so that it looks very natural. Awesome. We can edit any 3D model if you want it in this area. So you can open this with the arrow that you see against the 3D model to make any edits to that. These are a child and parent objects, so you can see a lot of hierarchy in there. We'll keep opening until we find things that we want to edit. For example, I want to remove the top portion of this crown so that we only have the front portion. We'll select all those portions that we don't want from here, and we can press the delete button to remove them. Awesome. Just a little bit of change again towards this part. Great. So we have a smaller crown which fits the one we need this time. We'll give the small movement again to practice. We'll play around. Does it look good? Change the video around. Also, we'll check on other videos also. Awesome. There is some occlusion that is not happening correctly. I will check that. So one thing that's missing for this theme around here would be a peacock feather that we wanted to add. To add that, we'll select the face tracker from here. We'll right click on that, go to the add object button, and we'll select a plane from here. A plane is a 3D plane, which is a on the top of which you can add any texture. We'll move it around where we want to add that peacock feather, somewhere around here. For this, for adding the 3D, for adding the peacock here, we'll need to create a new material again. We'll go to the plus button at the very end from where we created the material previously. We'll select the material option from here. Let's rename it to as peacock feather mat. Awesome. Now to this material, we'll assign that texture, the peacock feather texture that we have downloaded. Select the first option. And since this is a transparent image, one more option that we want to use there is the alpha test. Alpha test make sure that we are looking for alpha values inside the image. Now this texture that we want, this material that we want to add on the rectangle that we just created. This is the plane that we have created. We'll go to the inspector panel. In the materials tab, we'll press on the plus button and we'll see the peacock feather mat. Great. It's not in the correct orientation and the scale. We'll change the rotation from this rotation tool here to the correct rotation that we want. Do a little bit of this. We'll scale it a little bit. Maybe move it just behind the ground. That's good. Great. Awesome. Let's play the video and see how it looks. I'll also play it around with the camera on so that you can see how it looks. We'll use the play button now. Great. So you can see the crown coming up with the feather also, and this is a very basic effect that we have created. Let's add a small text on the top which you want, so that because the users will be sharing this effect on their Instagram stories, let's say, or the reels, there should be text denoting that we are celebrating the Janmashtami festival. For that, we'll go ahead on this plus button, add a canvas here. So canvas is a container for adding any 2D objects that you want to be on the top of the screen. So any text, any 2D image that you want to be on the top of the screen, you will add inside the canvas. We'll press insert here. And again, right click on the canvas, go to add object, and we'll select the 2D text. Yeah, now you can see that 2D text is in the top. We want that to be filling the complete top width. To do that, we'll go to the inspector panel here, click on the width panel, and we'll select fill width. So it will be always around the center of the screen. Let's change the text here to something like happy. This is the next line. So we have changed the text to happy Janmashtami. We want to let's increase the font a little bit. Let's increase the font to around 60. So we'll change the font size property to around 60, and we'll also increase the spacing between these lines as 60. Great. This font doesn't look a little good, so we'll change the font from this to something like Facebook Script Light. It looks good, or try something else also, and that looks good. Okay. We'll move this text a little bit down. Any other changes that we want to do, we can do it from here also. This is a 2D text. If you want to have a 3D text also, that you can also have, and that would be, let's say, if you want to follow the 2D text on the 3D text on the top of the head, that you can also do. For example, let's click on the face tracker right here, add object, and 3D text. This 3D text, you can place it anywhere you want. It's say on the top of the head of the person, and it will follow it. Let's play to see. So this is a 3D text that you want to add. For our case, you don't want to do that. Let's delete that. Great. So this was the effect that we wanted to create for this very first workshop. So this is a face tracking effect. We saw how to use a 3D model in a face tracking effect, how to add a mesh or a face paint on the top of the face of a user, how to import objects, and in general how to utilize Spark AR to create some of the very initial AR effects that you want to start with. And definitely it is on to your creativity, on to your thoughts, and what you wanted to create and what you want to demonstrate to the users or let the users create content out of. So this was one of the very initial effects. We'll close, but before that we'll have some questions. If you want to ask some questions, I'll quickly come back to the screen to see if you want to ask some questions around this. You can ping that in the chat and we'll see that. Just a second. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can ping that in the chat and I'll take that. If not, we'll quickly wrap up the session and we'll most probably meet again tomorrow to have a more unique experience, little detailed experience, some of the advanced capabilities that Spark AR has, and we'll be happy to see around what are the different things that we are creating with this. Great. So if we don't have any questions, we'll quickly wrap up the presentation also. So big thank you for joining and creating Spark AR effect with me. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me on any other platforms. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram also. Do explore your creativity to utilize the learnings that we have today to create an AR effect. It's not very difficult. It's a very easy thing, and it's about the creativity that you have will make you excel in this field, and you have to keep trying and creating different experiences. Uh, Hope you like this presentation, and let's meet again tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Akash, for such an amazing workshop. We have shared the submission form over the chat box. You can have a look into it and submit your amazing AR effects over here. And we'll surely see you soon in the next workshop. Till then, keep making great and great effects. Thank you so much, Akash.
Thank you all. Have a great day.